This is an extreme tragic and heartbreaking incident. A scene like that is something that nobody should ever have to see.
Quote, say goodbye to your kids. It's chilling. And those are the alleged words a North Dakota mom said to her husband before she allegedly barricaded herself inside her home and proceeded to kill her children.
We can share that the
Say goodbye to your kids. That sentence from the probable cause affidavit is not a movie line. It is the lock turning on a front door. 3 children under age 4 are on the other side. The mother is on the other side. The knife is on the other side. That door is the visual anchor for this entire case, a family home converted into a sealed chamber. Before we go deeper into the documents, make sure you're subscribed to Law and Crime Insiders, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence.
We can share that the 5-month-old and the 3-year-old have passed away. The 1-year-old is still being treated at a local hospital.
Miraculously, one of the kids survived, but now the suspect's family and the community are left with a ton of unanswered questions. Most importantly, what was the breaking point for this young mom of 3, leading to such a horrific act of violence? We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Well, you heard it from the police chief. I mean, this is just an awful story, a heavy story that we're following out of North Dakota. That chief saying it was a scene that was something nobody should ever have to see. Walking into a home and witnessing 3 kids, all under the age of 4, horrifically injured, and allegedly they were injured at the hands of their own mom. And those are just a few of the details.
Police called it a scene nobody should ever have to see. A 5-month-old and a 3-year-old were dead. A 1-year-old survived. 3 children under 4 allegedly injured by the person who gave them life. The probable cause affidavit is not easy to read, but it is the roadmap.
Details that police in Mandan, North Dakota have shared as they're trying to piece together an act of violence that you pray you would never have to see as a member of law enforcement, that no one would ever want to see. And this horrific act of violence has led to the loss of at least 2 young innocent victims and the serious injury of a 3rd. Now, we have the probable cause affidavit, and it was not easy to read. And it reveals even more details that are so shocking, details that the press conference that aired on KFYR television out of Bismarck, North Dakota did not cover, including what police say was an increasingly toxic dynamic between the suspect in this case and her husband. They are both the parents of these kids, of the victims. And there was allegedly a physical altercation that led up to these murders that we'll talk about. And we're also going to break down where the investigation goes from here. How do you even begin an investigation like this? Lisa Miller, former detective and chief investigator, will be here just a little later to make sense of, or at least try to make sense of, this really tragic situation. So
this was not random. The affidavit describes a toxic domestic dynamic, a separation plan, and a husband who knew enough to record videos. A system knew enough to open a file. On August 6th at 5:42 p.m., the call still came.
Right into this case and what we know at this point. So this all began last week on Thursday night. It was August 6th. And according to the Mandan police chief, officers were dispatched to a home around 5:42 p.m. That's after they learned that 22-year-old Kaye Hehheart reportedly locked herself inside the home with her 3 children and said that she was going to kill them. When officers arrived, they initially came in contact with the children's 22-year-old dad and the 43-year-old grandmother. I mean, this was an incredibly young couple. Police say the 2 of them, they were frantic in the front yard saying, quote, she's in the residence.
On arrival, officers heard assault happening inside the home and forced their way in.
Now, here's what the probable cause affidavit says happened next. Quote, a patrol officer entered the residence to find the children's mother, Kaye Hehheart, holding a knife to her throat. Kaye was covered in blood across her upper body and pants. Kaye dropped the knife and ordered officers to...
Officers found the father and grandmother in the yard, frantic. Inside, they heard an assault. They forced the door. Kaye Hehheart held a kitchen knife to her own throat, covered in blood. She dropped it and ordered police to kill her. Then officers found 3 children on a bed.
The patrol officer described the knife as a kitchen knife with a longer blade. Now, police say that Hehheart was detained without injury, but the horrific discoveries did not stop there. That he had located 3 children laying motionless on a bed in a bedroom directly off of the living room across from the front door. The children were covered in blood. The patrol officer noted that the blood was mainly concentrated near the neck area of all 3 children. According to police, 2 of the children, 3-year-old Morgan Hehheart and 5-month-old Ava Hehheart, succumbed to their injuries at the hospital, allegedly murdered by their own mom. while a 1-year-old child, 1-year-old, had surgery and survived. Police said they observed injuries on all of the children indicative of their throats being slit. A doctor also informed police that Morgan had a laceration on her wrist, which could have been a defensive wound. Now, this type of crime is unimaginable, especially one where the children
were on a bed directly off the living room. Blood was concentrated near their necks. A 3-year-old had a wrist laceration that a doctor called a possible defensive wound. That single detail turns a mental health tragedy into a homicide investigation.
Now, this is what Hehheart allegedly told police in that interview. I'm going to read from the affidavit here. Quote, Kaye advised the sergeant that she had placed the bodies of the 3 children on the bed inside the residence, and she believed she was the only one inside the residence when this happened. Kaye advised that she believed the children's throats had been cut prior to her placing the kids on the bed. Kaye further advised that she remembered having the knife in her hands when police arrived, though she did not remember everything that happened. Now, according to police, Hehheart did not go into much detail about why this all happened, and she allegedly said that she couldn't remember everything. But police also interviewed her husband, who was at the home when everything allegedly took place, and he revealed some very eye-opening details about their relationship and Hehheart's alleged mental health struggles. Quote, the husband advised throughout the past, Kaye had made comments regarding killing herself as well as their children. He also advised that he had made plans to divorce Kaye within the past couple of months. These plans included, quote, a separation. This involved the husband engaging in sexual activities with other women.
Hehheart remembered placing the bodies on the bed and the knife in her hands, but not everything. The husband said she had threatened to kill herself and the children before. Social services was involved. She had been committed in the past. And the file says she was cleared to be with the children.
More specifically, a Glock brand handgun. And police said that text messages between the couple lead them to believe that the purchase was made just 2 days before the murders. So the husband, to some extent, knowing about these alleged mental health issues she was having, but also aware that she had went and bought a handgun at a store. Now, police believe that the murders in this case were carried out with a kitchen knife inside the home. But this is where the gun becomes another frankly chilling part of this story. Quote, the husband advised that during the incident, Kaye had been threatening him with a firearm. The husband advised that he had collected video on his cell phone and he was able to show officers the videos. This included a video showing Kaye carrying a child believed to be 5-month-old Ava with a pistol pointed at her hip, pointed to the ground. The husband told police that Kaye then said, quote, say goodbye to your kids. The husband advised that he was able to get the firearm from Kaye, disassemble the handgun, and throw the pieces throughout the house. He then said that Kaye then locked him out of the house. The husband also told police that while he was wrestling Hehheart
2 days before the killings, she bought a Glock. The husband recorded her holding 5-month-old Ava with the pistol. She said, say goodbye to your kids. He disassembled the gun. So how many minutes passed between the gun coming apart and the kitchen knife leaving the drawer? That ticking clock is the center of this case.
After interviewing all of the parties involved, officers decided to charge Kaye Hehheart with 2 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, 2 counts of terrorizing with a dangerous weapon, 3 counts of aggravated assault, and a misdemeanor count of domestic violence. Now, based on the murder charges alone, Hehheart faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole. So where does the legal process now stand? So Hehheart is currently being held in the Burleigh Morton Detention Center on a $3 million bond. KFYR television was able to get video of her in court. Now, according to Hehheart's case docket, she is due back in court on October 6th for a preliminary hearing. And there is a trial date that has been scheduled to begin on February 1st, 2027. We'll see if that actually takes place on that date. Joining us now to talk more about this.
She was charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and weapons counts. Bond was set at $3 million. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for October, trial for February 2027. But the slower legal process still cannot answer the central question, why was she alone with 3 children?
But I want to read this part here, which is when Kaye Hehheart spoke to police. She allegedly said this, quote, Kaye advised the sergeant that she had placed the bodies of the 3 children on the bed inside the residence, and she believed she was the only one inside the residence when this happened. Kaye advised that she believed the children's throats had been cut prior to her placing the kids on the bed. Kaye further advised that she remembered having the knife in her hands when police arrived, though she did not remember everything that happened. So it seems like there's a mental health component to this. She had a lot going on in her life, but then also she's saying some things she doesn't remember. When it comes to building the case against somebody, how much does that factor into? And I know that this may be more of like a prosecutor and the decisions that they have to make, but how do you factor in the mental health component with everything else that was going on? And then certainly the forensic information that will come back that, you have to believe at this point will potentially show she allegedly killed two of her children and almost did a third.
Well,
In the affidavit, she says she placed the bodies on the bed and was the only one inside. She remembered the knife but not everything. That selective memory is the legal fault line. The state calls it clarity. The defense calls it psychosis. The forensic evidence will not care.
the husband has a video of her holding one of the children, holding a firearm in her hand, saying, "Say goodbye to your children." That can go to the knowingly and intentionally component of a murder. It can go to premeditation, that she was thinking clear enough ahead of time to know, and she was making this threat to him that she was going to kill the children. In the interview room, us detectives were asking questions about the medication. This is the one big bite at the apple. The prosecutor's not going to get to ask questions on the stand more than likely than not of this suspect. So the detective has to ask about the medications, ask if they're hearing voices, ask if they're taking their medication as they should. These are all extremely important questions that will help.
The husband's video shows her holding a child and making a threat. That goes to intent and premeditation. Buy the gun, make the threat, load the gun, find another weapon. That is a sequence, not chaos. Mental illness may explain the pressure. It does not erase the choices.
You have to be a little out of your mind at the time that you kill them, right? Unless you're truly evil. But you can suffer from mental illness, which is a real thing, a real diagnosis. We're learning more and more about it all the time. But I fall on the side of accountability and justice. If you knew what you're doing, if you're making threats, and this woman, by all accounts, was under a lot of pressure at this time. She had 3 young children. She had one of the children that she killed is under the age of 1. She was going through marital challenges where the husband was leaving her. We know that. So that's a lot of pressure on anyone, especially a 22-year-old young woman. But she's also walking around. She purchased a gun. She's walking around with one of the children in her arms, threatening the husband, saying she's going to kill him. This is before the act. There is a little bit of clarity of thought here because once...
The legal question is not whether she was suffering. It is whether she knew what she was doing. She bought a firearm 2 days earlier. She chased 2 adults out with a knife. She found a second weapon after losing the first. And the system had already marked her file. She was cleared to be with the children.
Well, we're going to corroborate everything outside of the players involved in this case. In this specific case, we have something that corroborates his statement about her actions, and that is a video that he took and it was on his phone that he showed police. So we have that video that shows her in whatever state she was in, so we can see firsthand her state and we can hear firsthand her threats. Law enforcement's going to go and they're going to get the purchase records of this firearm or when she purchased the firearm and the date that transaction took place. And they're going to go talk to other people in her orbit. Who are her friends? Who is she confiding to? What is she saying about her struggles with her mental health, her struggles with her marriage? Who can confirm these outside pressures? We're going to look at everything we can about her. We're gonna check, her work history, what people at work say about her. We're gonna find out every piece that we can present to the prosecutors, and that includes the thorough and efficient processing of that scene. And I have to say, Chris, I've been to hundreds of autopsies. I really don't remember the faces of most of the adult autopsies that I've attended, but I can close my eyes and I can remember every child autopsy I ever attended. This sticks with these first responders. You can compartmentalize these cases while you're working them. You have to. It's a must to do the service for the children that were killed. But they're never going to forget this horrible, horrible day and what they responded to.
Oh, and I just think of
Detectives will now work outward firearm records, text messages, friends, coworkers. The video corroborates the husband, but the deeper question is whether any agency connected the dots before August 6th. The children are gone. The evidence is not. First responders will carry that bedroom for the rest of their careers.
Enforcement's better now at addressing mental health concerns and addressing problems before they become bigger problems. They weren't as good in my day when I came on. There wasn't the resources, and it wasn't great to talk to anyone about these things. So thankfully, it's still not great, but it's getting better in the law enforcement profession.
you would hope so, because I mean, I just think that the way that they describe what this officer saw going into the house, and then you have to in that moment also realize you're at a crime scene, you need to process it, you need to do all those things. I mean, the amount of thinking, I think from the public standpoint, even though you could see in the news conference the police chief talked about just how awful this scene was, like I think often in the public eye, like we take for granted, because sadly there are so many tragedies out there of like the impact of cases.
The police chief said no one should ever have to see that scene. He was right. But someone dead the officer who entered, the medics, the detectives, and before them, the children. The moral weight is the gap between a documented threat and a door that was not locked from the outside.
The circles around an offender like this, and you want to get a fair assessment. If the mental health struggles were such that maybe there should be some competency issues, those will come up with the professionals, and they'll go to the experts, and the experts will do what the experts do. But the police will just be gathering all the intel that they can and see what her struggles actually were, how she was coping, if she was affected, and how affected was she by this estrangement, this separation, impending divorce with the husband, how she was coping with parenting 3 young children. Lots of interviews, lots of gathering of paperwork, like these firearm records, searching phones, searching computers, all of those things.
Yeah, well, it's an awful case, no other way to state it. And you just hope now going forward, the investigation, we'll find justice for these 3 children, and we'll see what happens next, whatever that looks like. Lisa Miller, retired detective, former chief investigator. Always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
She had been cleared to be with the children. Pull the probable cause affidavit in Burleigh County. Read the CPS timeline, the text messages, and the firearm purchase date. Then ask one direct question. What single intervention would have placed a locked door between a documented mental health crisis and 3 children? Put your answer in the comments. And if this document-driven breakdown matters to you, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Law and Crime Insiders.